Okay, before we go to Scott for his demo, I have to mention that these demos are done by our members. We do not pay the members for this. They're totally voluntary. We ask that you restrain yourself from questioning his techniques or adding to what he is doing. Let's let Scott do the demonstration. We'll have a Q&A following it. If you have a direct question about what he's done, you may ask the question. We prefer you to hold to the Q&A. But remember, these are volunteer demonstrators. These are members of the club just like you are. There's no priority. There's no ranking. There's no click or anything. This is the opportunity for you to be part of your club and enable everyone to share what you know. And we're really high on that. This whole operation was started with the idea that there's so much information out there that we all have. It's time to share. No money, just share. So is Scott back again yet?
Yeah, I'm here. You guys can hear me now.
Now we got you. I'm bumping out, and you're going to bump in. Hold on.
Okay. All right. There we go. So these aren't the project. This is just part of my show and tell. I'll do that real quick, and then I'll get on my demo. These are just what I've been working on. Some maple burl, and then these are painted with milk paint. And then I want to show you guys these over here so they don't fall on the ground. My birdhouse I've been working on. It's a mushroom birdhouse, natural edge, maple burl, and figured maple for the body. And then I find twigs that kind of look like a chimney. So I stick that in the side. And then I use a little branch for the perch right there. So this is my my new version of a birdhouse this year. I'm making like a dozen of them, and I plan to sell them. So that'll be fun. So let's get on with the demo here. I'm going to make icicle ornaments. And these are, your more ornate type. Then I like to play around with like putting trees on them. And I do have a snowman one around here somewhere. Where did I put you? Oh, where's the one with the hat? There he is. And we got these guys right here. So they're just fun little things you can use with scrap wood, little 2x2s and things like that. That's what I make all these out of. So let me mount up a piece of wood. And let me see, which one are we going to make first? We'll make the Christmas tree first. So I'm going to get rid of this board off my lathe. I'm going to go to my 3 cameras so you guys can see what's going on a little better. So I'm going to mount this into a set of pin jaws. This is a 1.5-inch piece of poplar dowel. So you just buy at the hardware store. I use it for a lot of ornaments and stuff. I like the creamy color it presents. And if I want it darker, I can actually just stain it. All different, you can use a different color of stains, light colors or dark colors. So this is just to help support it and get it before I really tighten it down in the lathe. Here, where did I put my? There you are. I keep sitting things down where I shouldn't. I'm going to turn off my overhead lights so you guys see a little bit better. There we go. And I'm going to just do my general roughing right now, and then eventually I'll take the tailstock away to finish it up. Start my lathe up, start it on slow. See, it's kind of out around. These dowels are never quite straight when you buy them, so you do need to true them up. So I'm just using my little 1-inch roughing gouge. You don't need you can use a big roughing gouge on it if you want, but you really don't need to. Oh, I forgot to push a button on here. Let's see if this will. It's going to record. There we go. Wanted to record this, so I just started It's recording to my computer. So that way I have it for future reference. So I'm just gonna, I got it turned up. I can turn it up a little bit higher. So I just got it about 2,200 RPMs. And I just start on the inside here and work my way towards the end. You don't want to come in the opposite way and catch that corner, because it can cause you a heap of trouble if the tool catches. It can actually throw it off the lathe. Now we got that all trued up. I'll probably make the Christmas tree first. So I'm just going to mark out. I usually use one I've already made, just helps. I'm going to mark out the little areas I want to keep. So this is going to be waste wood right there. So I'm going to have the little pointy end about right there. I'm going to have that nice long cove. And this part. And that's where the tree's going to start. And then the little bobble on top. It's nice to measure things out like that ahead of time. I use my thin parting tool and just mark those spots so they don't disappear on me when I start cutting. I don't go all very deep, but it gives me an idea where I want to go. Let me grab that one more time. So I think I forgot to mark something. Yep. All right, so I want to put that little bead right about here. So I got to remember not to cut all that wood away when I'm rough turning it down.
We're on a giant cornucopia float. So there we are. We're freezing and it's hailing on us and we're shivering and we're standing on a bunch of grapes and squash and we're waving at people and people are shouting at us. It's so exciting and I couldn't hear what they were
shouting. So I'm going to leave.
Oh,
I hear some background noise, something. So I'm going to leave this one not cut just so the wood doesn't become too weak in that area. So I'm going to pick up my roughing out gouge again and just kind of do some peeling cuts. All this is a little too big for what I need it to be. So I'm just going to shrink all this down and waste some of this wood away. I need to leave that large there for the bead. And I'm just kind of shaping starting that cove right here in the middle with my roughing gouge, getting it going. I can do the same thing going this way, where I pick up a regular spindle gouge. I'm just using the corner right there, and it just cuts through it just like you would if you're using a skew chisel to do this. I can do the same thing on this side. Now, if you don't have a small roughing gouge, you can use a larger roughing gouge to do this, but it's easier to get it in tight spots with a smaller one. All right, so now I'm just gonna grab a regular spindle gouge here. It's a 1/2 inch. I'm just gonna take this part down a little further down towards the tail center there. So I want to create that bead at the end. So what I'm going to do is I just marked the center there. So I want to bring my bevel in contact, raise the back of my the handle. So you guys can see that. Let me zoom out on that one camera and you guys can see the motions on my tool a little bit better. And I'm going to bring it down, lift the handle until I start getting a cut. And then I'm just going to do a twist and push and swing the handle away from me for that direction there. Come back. And just do the opposite kind of motion. So that bead is a little too big for what I want. So I'm just going to take some of this down because it's going to need to go away anyway. So it's going to allow me to get a little further in. So I'm just going to do like a V cut here using the tip of the tool. Come back this direction. And I'm just going to take this bead down a little bit more. It's a little too big for my liking. Now this poplar is fairly soft wood, so it takes sanding really well. You could use a sandpaper to actually finish shaping the wood if you need to. So I need to take this way down. So 45 degrees with my tip of my tool, and I just kind of wasted some of that wood away. I'm going to come up here and just start taking that cove down. And I'm just going to get this as thin as I want right now. That looks pretty good right there. So I want to match that thickness on this other side. And this needs to be taken down just a little bit. Go. And still some more. I'm going to get it down to where that parting cut was done. There we go. And I start with the tool at 45 degrees and then I give it a little twist. And when I get up to this part, my tool's almost at 90 degrees. So I'm just looking to see if I kind of match that. I'll adjust it after I make this middle bead here. So I need to take a lot of this away. And it's a little too big for the beads. So I'm just going to start 45 degrees on the tool. I'm just shrinking this down. Make it a little narrower. I'm just doing like step cuts here, using the tip of the tool, kind of narrowing this whole thing down. There we go. Now I can do the same thing, make a bead, start the bevel rubbing, lift the handle, twist and push away. Do the same thing on this one. When I lift the handle though, I'm gonna twist and bring the handle towards me. Well, sometimes it'll do that. If you're not careful, it'll actually escape back on you, and that's what that did. So I got to clean that up. The speed's going to be a little smaller than I thought because of that skate, but we'll get it rounded over yet. Oh, did it again. It's been a little while since I did a live, so just want to get my feet wet in it again here. There we go. That's looking better.
You're all good, Scott.
And I need to just bring up that edge right up to the bead on that side, kind of clean up the bead on this side here. And then I want to I'm going to grab me a very small detail gouge. And I'm just going to kind of separate the two by doing a small V cut here. This is a 1/4 inch detail gouge. So I'm going to come in at like 90 degrees, the flute. This helps separate the two from each other. And I need to take a little bit more down right here. And I see a bump in this curve too, so. There we go, that's better. Still not the best, but 90 degrees curve, just cut a V groove. There we go. So I'm just gonna use that same small detail gouge and just kind of clean this area up right here. This doesn't quite match the other side, so that's what I'm shooting for. And so I want to take this down now. This is going to be like just a large cove. And you want to work from the outside down to the middle. You don't want to you don't really want to work your way uphill because you'll be fighting in grain. So when you get to the bottom here, you just want to stop, go back the other way. We're just going to work our way down until we're happy with it. I'm going to take this down a little bit. There we go. And you can make it as thick as you want, or you can go even thinner with it like I'm going to do here. And you just want to work your way back and forth. Get that curve to match, going both directions here. All right, so now what we want to do is create a V cut right at the bottom of that cove. So I'm back to my small detail gouge, 90 degrees. I'm just going to work my way in. And then clean up that cut here. Now let's with this so far, that bead down here is still a little too big for my liking, so I'm going to take it down a little bit more before I move up and the wood gets weaker. I'm going to take this down. And just cut a bead there just to be able to get a little further down into the wood. Wondering if this should be the tree or the snowman. This will be a good thing for the tree. I've already got that. I'm gonna use my small detail gouge again. And just get down there a little further. And now I just need to adjust the curve here. Some light cuts just to get that curve right. Then we'll touch it up a little more with the sandpaper. All right. So now I need to take this down a little bit. I'm just going to create a larger bead right here. I'm just going to take a look at that sample I made here. All right. So that's what I did. I like the look of that sample I made. So, but this one,
Scott,
the sample doesn't have a bead. Yeah.
before you get started back to cutting, can you hold up the sample again?
Oh, sure.
Since there's a break.
Right there.
Look,
And now you can kind of see what I'm going for. But instead of this little fillet right there in between, I'm putting a bead between the tree and the top there this time instead of just a straight on V cut like that.
Right on.
I like to change it up a little bit. It's good to have, add a little different designs as you work your way in. All right, so now let's make the tree. So I'm just going to clean this up. a little bit, make the cutting a little bit easier. So for the tree, you just want to start with the tree or the tool at 45 degrees. You just come in. And there's a bottom branch right there. Take this down a little bit. That way it's a little more narrow. Same thing here. What I'm doing is I'm starting at 45 degrees and then I'm just turning the tool all the way to 90 with the handle straight. I'm not moving it in or out or anything. So I need to take a little bit more off. And that's too big of a cut to get all that. So there we go. It's a little bit better. I want to go in a little bit deeper with this and come out. So you got to remember, you want the bottom a little bit bigger than the, and just work your way up. I'm going to take this down. Then I'm going to do that same cut, and this will be the last branch. So I'm going to just kind of make that a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to adjust as I go, make that a little bit deeper there. All right, so I need to take a whole bunch of this down. Careful of the jaws. Now I just want to make this a little, need to make this a little narrower. So I'm just wasting wood away. Now you can either put a bead on the top or leave it like that and just put an eye hook in the top. Where did I put that sample at? I had it, no, I don't. There you are. Sometimes, yeah, I'll put a small bead like this on it just for the eye hook to fit. And the way I cut it here, what I need to do is just pull the tailstock back a little bit and pull the wood out of the chuck a little ways. So I'll probably do that just so we can get that bead to the jaws. So we'll see if I need to move it or not. Sometimes I can create a cove down in here where I can create that bead. So I'm going to grab me my smaller detail gouge again. And first I want to dress this bead up. It's kind of looking awkward. It's kind of a, oh. I want to get that all the way down and I'm hitting this part. So I can just clean that up. All right, that looks all right. So I'm just going to fix this little bit right there that my tool touched. So I want to sand at this point because once I make that bead, the piece is going to be really, really weak and it might break in half. So I'm just going to lower my lathe speed down, and I just use 180 on here and it'll clean it up pretty quick. Get it at the right speed. I'm sanding about 750 RPMs. Get this down in here, clean that up. And clean the cove. I want to get rid of any tool marks that might have been left behind. Fold the sandpaper in half. Just get those two parts in there. And let's duck it in there. And let's clean up that bead. Around here, some fresh sandpaper. And we'll just clean these up. You want a smooth surface here if you're going to paint it. Sometimes I paint them, sometimes I don't. Some people just like the natural look of the wood. If we have time, I'll show you how I paint them towards the end of my demonstration. So let's clean this bead up. And this last one here. And it shapes really quick with this sandpaper here. All right. So I can probably back the tailstock off and it should really not go anywhere. We'll see here. So I'm just going to do it nice and gentle. Make sure it's not wobbling around too much at this end. It's a little wobbly, so I'm just going to put the point in there to help support it. And now I want to, sometimes I like to be able to cut that end off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch centers here. Get these tools out of the way. So I'm going to turn off the lathe. I'm going to back it off. And I've got another live center that I've took the point out of that I'll put in here. And that little bead in there will just, put it. Oh, geez. Where did I put that thing? There you are. So I'm just going to be very gently. I got some tear out right there. I didn't see. I'm going to hold this, support it with my hand while it's spinning. And I'm just going to take this all the way down. Man, that's not looking too good. So I'm going to clean that up. I'm just going to slide this right into the live center. It's got a big opening on this one. Anybody that knows a Shopsmith, this is a live center from Shopsmith. And I use it for situations like this. It comes in handy. I'm just cutting here where I saw some tear out. So I'm going to have a look, see if I got it. We'll grab some sandpaper. It still looks a little rough, but I think the sandpaper will take care of that. I probably cleaned that up really nice. Yep, that looks good. So I'm just going to bring this tail center out just a little bit, see if it's still supporting it. I can back it up a little ways. Just where it's touching in there. Whoop, I pushed it into it. Go. Still too close. So I'm just going to do this by hand here. And then when I do the top one, I'll put that bead into that live center for support. So I'm just going to bring my hand around here. And I'm just going to slowly cut this away. Probably turn up the lathe just a little bit, make sure it doesn't go wobbling all over the place. I'll speed up the cutting process a little bit more. We're getting there. When you're supporting by hand, you just want to be gentle with the cuts if you can. Oh, popped out of my hand there.
Take your time. You got plenty of time.
Oh yeah. You don't want to hurt. You don't want to try to force or push the time limit on when you're cutting like this. I think I just about got it. Oh, one more little thing there. Stinky little nubbins are the hardest things to get rid of.
That they are.
So I'm gonna grab me a sandpaper. Where's the stuff I was looking for? All right. And I'll just sand the end of that. Good rule of thumb, if your fingers are getting hot while you're holding it, you're holding too tight. Just a gentle touch, doesn't take much to hold it. All right, there we go. So I'm going to stop the lathe. I'm going to bring up this tell center. It's got like a little, just a little cove pocket in there. So it comes in really handy. This it creates like a cup center when you take the point out of this. So I'm just going to start up the lathe and just bring that up. It's kind of gentle like. Ooh. Start up. There we go. Now I can finish up that little bobbin on the top. So I need to bring my tool rest a little bit closer. So what I want to do is change tool rests. So I have a smaller one than this. It comes in handy for this kind of situation. I love this little thing here. It lets me get right up into the wood there. Nothing really blocking it. And you just want to check the height, make sure you're at the right height. That's a little high. It should be good. Yep. So we're just going to cut this away and create a small bead on top for the eye hook. So I'm just starting at the top there and just kind of doing the twist again. I want to go the opposite way. Make sure you don't cut all the way through. Kind of clean that up. Just a small V cut right here to separate the two. Doesn't have to be deep or anything. And we'll just kind of waste this wood down, get it out of the way. Just want to make sure you're careful not to cut this all the way out. I'm just going to do like just a slight cone shape, and then I'll sand it around that when it's off the lathe. So what I want to do is just be able to twist this off. And we're almost to that point. There we go. Put my tools on the rack so they're out of the way. And I just want to sand that little bead up before I take it off the lathe. Watch those jaws with your fingers there. There we go. Now we got a icicle ornament with a bead. Back off the tail center. Then we can just give it a little twist. And it'll come off, and this will sand up really easy and quick. So there's the first one right there. So if you paint this green, it looks nice like I showed you. And this one, if I paint it red, it just kind of, green and red with Christmas, it just sets it off. Or you could just put a spray finish or a whack, oil it. And they come out really nice looking when you get them all done like that.
Good job there, Scott.
Thank you. So let's move on to an ornate. One of these guys here, what I call ornate. spindles or ornaments. So I'll do the overhead there so you guys have a better look. These are always fun and interesting. You can make them all different kinds of shapes. I always like to leave like a bauble in the middle just to give it a little balance instead of just one long skinny piece of wood. And you can either make the top short, you can move the bauble up closer to the top and make this area longer. You can make a flame at the bottom instead of a bead. There's all onion shape, all kinds of different. Here's one with the onion shape here with the flame on the bottom. Just like that. So there's ample opportunities to create these type of icicle ornaments. So let's put this one in. I can turn this without really tailstock support. If I can, I prefer to turn these kind of spindles without the tailstock. It makes it easier to work with. But I'm going to bring up my tailstock just see how out of balance it is here. I need to tighten it up a little bit more before I adjust the centering of it. So just need to give it a couple of taps. Almost there. It's going to need to be trued up no matter what you do, but it's best to get it as close as you can. And then we just tighten it way down here. There we go. This is a lot of thin wood turning, and you gotta sometimes be careful with that. See how turn on the lathe so just to see if we're centered pretty well. Centered for this kind of wood in just a dowel from the hardware store. That's pretty good right there. So I'm changing my tool rest back out. One in like this. And we'll just gently true this up. Just double check the tightness. You want to really crank it down when you got a piece overhanging your chuck this far. And small roughing out gouge again. And we'll turn it up.
Okay.
All right. So I'm about 2,200 RPMs again. I'm just kind of just gently take it easy because it is unsupported. Now I'm just going to start narrowing this bottom area here because a lot of wood's got to come off. So just use the roughing gouge. I'm going to bring up the tailstock after all. This one doesn't like to stay in the lathe and it rolled under my workbench. So just give me real quick. I have got some long handled, these little guys that can grab anything. Where did you go? There you are. All right. So I'll bring up the tailstock. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I'd rather be safe and have not pop out again when I'm roughing it down. So I'm just gonna, it's got marks. Oh, everything's falling. Yo. Yeah, it's been a while since I found one of these online. Stream Deck just fell on the ground here. So let me pick that up real quick. Put it right here so it's out of the way. There we go. That's good. All right, so it's out of balance again, but I do have I did center it in case I did want to use the tail center. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend it so because of the chuck or the tool rest is kind of long. Find that center hole. Let's see if I got it. There it goes. So it's running really true again, but I'm just gonna do a quick assessment here and get my
You need to move your.
roughing
Don't
out
forget to
gouge.
change the
You
camera.
need to move your camera.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. There we go. So I'm just making sure it's balanced again because I brought the tailstock up. This is gonna help it from, of course, prevent it from coming out of the chuck again. But I'm getting the general shape of what I want. That needed to come down a little bit. I'm just gonna come opposite way here, take some of that down. So I'm gonna stop right there because I wanna put a little bit of put a cove right here just because I took that. This is gonna have to go away anyway. So this is gonna be the cove. This is where the bobble will be. Then a little bit of another finial on top of the bobble there. Well, that's good for the roughing gouge. And I'm gonna grab me my spindle gouge here and just finish taking it down. First, I want to create a flame on the bottom. But I gotta remember that that's gonna be waste wood right there. So I'm just gonna create a V cut right here. And I'm just gonna generally shape this down. I wanna leave that there for right now. Just get that flame started. It's a little too big, but I need to remove some of this first. So I like to make these kind of skinny. I need to take this down, do another V cut. And I come up about a third with this part of the curve. And then I'll come back the other way. I'm going to create a V cut right here first, so I know where to stop. This is just wasting wood away, getting it thin. Then one long cut. I don't really like to try to leave anything straight on these pieces. I like to have a continuous curve right through here. I'm just going to take it a little bit thinner. Clean that up. A little bit of a bump right in the middle there, so I want to get rid of that. All right, so now I'm just going to turn my tool at 90 degrees and just kind of dive in right there. Come back the opposite way to clean that little bit up. Then use the curve of the tip just to create a curve right here coming out of the V cut. And there's a little bit of a bump still right here, so I'm just going to gently take that down. I'm going to grab me some sandpaper and see if that will help. I'm just going to do it at full speed just to straighten everything out. This isn't a finishing sanding. This is just kind of a shaping sanding. Let's make sure everything's nice and smooth. When I do my final sanding, I'll slow the lathe down. So right there, I want to create a cove. So I need to get my thin parting tool and just put a part right down here. Wrong way. And then we'll create that cove. I'll go down a little bit more. And now the small parting tool or detail gouge will allow me to get right down in here, clean all this up. All right. So for this kind of a turning, you want to sand as you go. Just to get the rough part out of it done. And we'll slow things down towards the end. All right, so we need the bobble. Then parting tool again. I want to take this down. And I'll probably get my regular size parting tool and just kind of open this up a little bit so it'll give me a little more working room. This is all going to be waste wood anyway, so I'm just going to take it down and get it out of the way there. So this is essentially just a large bead. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get the bevel rubbing, then I'm going to lift the handle, do a twist, and turn the handle away from me at the same time. That's too big of a bobble that I want, so I'm just going to take some of this wood off. I'm going to do that one more time. Down in there. Okay, so what you want to do to create that little high spot, it looks like the two pieces of wood are holding the bobble in the middle. So you just start turning that bead and get the cut going, and you twist the tool a little bit faster. And you just, a little bit too much there, so I'm going to take it down. And we're going to do the same thing on this side, and we'll come back and clean that up with the smaller detail gouge. Get this bobble round here. There's a flat spot right on top of this, so I want to get rid of that, get that general shape going first. Probably do one more here, so we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to stop short, just like that. And then we're just going to adjust how the bobble shape is looking. It's a little, not too round right here. So I need to just bring this further down inside there. It's a little high in this area, so I'm just going to adjust that. And then I'm just going to start removing some of this wood so I can get a little more closer to what I want to do here. All right, so little detail gouge again. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to clean up these little cuts that I made. And round this over to that V cut. And I need to change my glasses. They're getting kind of foggy on me, and I'm not sure where. There they are. That's better. See a little bit better now. I'm just going to clean this cut up. And I'm just going to narrow this down a little bit because it's too big. There we go. Right down into that spot there. Come back this way, 90 degrees. That looks pretty good. Now I just want to clean up this high spot on the bobble. And now I'm just going to take it down. Create a V cut right here. It's a little high spot right outside this section, so I want to get rid of that. Come back, clean that up. Now I'm just gonna stop the lathe and see if there's any tear out along here. See how smooth and crisp it is. So I need a little bit tear and a little deeper right here because they don't match quite. So I need to go a little bit deeper with this section here. Tool's at 90 degrees. The flute is towards the piece of wood. Now I just need to thin this down a little bit. And I'm just gonna clean up that shape a little bit more. Now I'm just looking at the horizon right here to see if these two match. And they pretty much do. So I just want to clean this up a little bit more. This tool isn't doing a really good job, so I'm actually going to use a bigger tool to clean that up. I'm going to bring in my 1/2-inch detail gouge. It's a very shallow flute, so it cuts down on vibration and it makes really fine cuts, even for its size. And you can see how easy tool is easy to maneuver. I'm just gonna go a little bit deeper there. Put this in a little bit more. All right, and there's a high spot right in here. And all right, so I'm just gonna cut a little bit deeper into this way. Get those two to match up a little bit deeper. There we go. That looks good. Get a cleanup cut there. The sanding will take care of the rest of that spindle work. So I'm just going to take a lot of this down while I got the big tool in place. Oop, the wing caught right there. I need to just take a lot of this away. Swallow it down. There we go. I'm just going to create a cove on the top. Then the eye hook will just go in the top of this cove. I need to use my smaller spindle gouge to get that curve right. That tool is a little too heavy to do that. If there's any questions, put them in the chat or yell them out. I think Dane or somebody can let me know if there's questions in the chat.
Correct.
Go. Sandpaper time. That's where I'm going to stop for right now, and then I'm going to take the tailstock away and clean up that bottom flame there. I can speed up the lathe a little bit more. This is going to be the final sanding in these areas. So I slowed down the lathe. Switch paper here. So it's getting a little worn. I go through sandpaper like crazy sometimes. It's just, I always like to have fresh sandpaper in my hand. I don't try to push it because it leaves ungodly scratches in your wood if you're trying to use worn sandpaper. Get rid of any tool lines you might see in the piece. And adjust the shape a little bit. There's a high spot, you can take it down with the paper. That's looking pretty good. Need to turn the paper a little bit there to get in this area. And that was leaving lines. I don't know why. Be a deep pool mark there. I'll have to stop the lathe and look. Sand that cove up. I curl in the paper over. I fold it into threes and then I curl it over and it gets right down into these coves like that. I'm just gonna check something because there's some, might be just the dust creating lines in the wood. Yeah, that's what it looks like it was. No, there's a line right there in the wood. I'm just gonna sand it a little bit better. Sanding's an important part of making these small things because any flaw from your tools that can show up, it's like they stand out on little pieces like this. You can't hide them as much just like you could on a bowl or something. I'm just gonna sand this little cove one more time. There we go. So now what I want to do is take the tailstock away, create that flame. So I'm just going to gently take it away while the lathe is running. Okay, so it's going to wobble on me a little bit. That's not a good sign. So I got to support it with my hand again. So I'm just going to bring this back up, take as much of that away as I can with this small spindle gouge here. Gently bring your tool in against near that center. Some of this wood's going to be wasted away because there is a hole in there. From the tail center. So you don't want to leave that in there. Sometimes that hole makes it difficult to create a nice point on the end. So I can probably take it all the way down until it cuts through. Oh, there it went. So now I can just sand it. Grab it with my hand there, clean that up. Clean up that point. Now we'll part it off. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna double check the sanding right next to it there, just to make sure if I hit it with my tool, it didn't leave a mark. Grab me a piece of paper towel and rub off the sanding dust just to see how it looks without that dust all over it. Right. So now what we can do is I'm gonna burn lines into these little joints real quick. How are we on time, Dane?
You're doing
Where
well.
are we? Oh, 6 o'clock. Okay, we're at 6 o'clock. That's not bad at all. I got time to make the snowman, I think.
Yes,
All right,
you
so I'm
do.
gonna burn some lines in. All right. Grab me my wire burning. No, what drawer did I put them in here? There they are. So because it's so narrow, you got to turn up the lathe really kind of fast to get any kind of a burn mark off the wire. And don't worry about that wobble. It's not going to hurt anything. Just be gentle with the wire. Don't apply a bunch of force. What I do is I just stretch it straight. I don't wrap it around. You just kind of set it in there. And you can look to the side until you see a burn mark show up. I might need to change to a more narrow wire. So that one's not doing it too well. You don't want to go too thin or it'll actually cut the wood. There we go. This should take a, come on, I can smell it burning, but it's not leaving a dark enough mark. There it goes. I can see the smoke. All right, we got that one. That's the most difficult one on a piece like this. Come on, burn, 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 burn. There it goes. I'm gonna grab that other bigger one because these joints are wide enough to handle that. It'll burn faster. This just makes the joints pop out when you put a finish on it. There we go. Now after burning, I'm gonna grab me a Scotch-Brite, a white one. And this just helps polish the wood up. You get these in the paint department at Lowe's or Home Depot. And this just helps give it a burnish on the wood. Also helps to remove any like burn residue that might have been left behind by the wire. There we go. I'm going to apply a high gloss wax to this in a second. I want to use it on the, while the lathe is on, or the piece is on the lathe. It only takes a second, and I find it nicer than trying to just to spray it. Kind of like using the wax. So what I've got here is I've got Hampshire Sheen high gloss paste wax. And this stuff really does shine up a piece of wood. So you just want to grab a clean piece of paper towel. You're going to need a few of these because one's going to be for, a couple of them are going to be for buffing. One's going to be for applying. So I'm just going to rip a couple here and fold them up into fourths. There we go. It's like fold them up like this so you got a good pad, especially when you're buffing it. So it doesn't take much wax on a piece like this, and you just want to rub it through. Make sure you get it down in those joints. You don't want it really thick, but you can use a toothpick to get it out if you need to, if it gets down too much of a blob down in there. Need a little bit more wax. So I just start with a small amount and just add more to the paper towel as I go. That way it doesn't get all gloppy on the piece. And this dries really fast, so you can keep on going and buff it up. And the buffing will spread the wax out too, so. Right. Just get some down in there. Looks like paper towel's kind of coming apart, but the buffing will get rid of that. Put the other one there. All right, so it looks like it's feels dry. Just gonna put a little bit more right there on this long section here. So that's what's really gonna stand out when we polish this up. Same with the bobble. Doesn't hurt to add a little extra. And after this, I will clean up the lines. Probably using a toothpick. Got to get the bottom there. All right. So
Hey,
it just
Dane.
takes a second for it to dry up. Yeah.
Dane,
there a
this is
question?
Eddie. No, I just want to give Dane a warning. Be careful what you say, because safety sues in the house.
I love the fact that he has no gloves on. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I usually do. When I'm turning big stuff, I do. I wear a leather glove like this. It's not cloth. There's no cloth on it whatsoever. And I took classes with David Ellsworth, and he always wears a glove. And what happens when I'm turning a bowl and a lot of shavings are coming off, it abrades my skin right here. It'll actually open up a sore. I guess my skin's just kind of sensitive right there. So that's why I wear a glove when I'm doing that.
I know sometimes when you get a lot of
But I
shades,
don't-
it actually burns, so. But I appreciate,
Yeah. But for me, it actually creates a sore. It opens up and starts bleeding, and it's just terrible. Otherwise, I wouldn't wear one. So I'm just folding that up. I got the blade turned up quite high because you want to buff this wax, get it to shine up. I just do the end there, and we're just going to work our way down. It's like I'm not sure the wax held on the end there, but we'll see. And it gives it a nice sheen. Sometimes you got to apply a couple extra coats to get a really high gloss shine on it, but I'm not going to do that right now. But you'll see what a difference this makes to this, just even this wood. So I got a lot of wax right in this little section here. So I'm just going to fold my paper towel really narrow and get them down and get that little extra wax out of those lines where it's built up. It looks like I got it all, except the bottom doesn't look right. It might just because it's shaking around, but yeah, there's still a little bit of wax down there in that hole. So I'm just gonna kind of pinch the paper towel and get it down in there. And I'm gonna stop and check this one because it had a lot of wax in it too. That looks pretty good. So a couple more applications of that wax, and this thing would just shine up like crazy. So let's get this parted off. I'm gonna use my small detail gouge to work my way into this area right here. Just heard a noise in my shop behind my lathe. I have a neighborhood cat that likes to come into my shop with me, and she'll just lay there and watch me wood turn. Then when I'm done for the night, she just goes home. Her owners are 2 doors down from me.
Well, it doesn't cost you any cat food.
or litter.
I think.
Well,
So
the
I'm just
litter
gonna
is already provided.
hand sand this very top when I get this parted off here. So what I want to do is just get this as narrow as I can and as deep as I can here. Then I'm just going to come in with my thin pull saw and just kind of cut this gently off. That's as far as I want. I want a little space on the top there for the eye hook to go in. So that's why I use the saw. It kind of creates a little spot where that eye hook can rest in there. So just gently take it off. Hold it steady so the saw curve stays even. And there we go. Onto the floor, of course. So this part I would just sand. I like to take my disc sander and stick it in my pin jaws like this. And that would just clean that up really fast. So,
Hey,
so there's
Scott,
an ornate.
Hey, Scott, I misspoke about the longevity for continuing on. I don't think we're gonna have time for the snowman. It looks like we're bumping up against the schedule here.
Okay. All right.
But finish,
Tell you what, if you get,
but finish up with this one right here. We won't be able to do the snowman though.
okay, well, let me put that sander in here real quick. And I'll just show you, it's not a big thing here. Oh, I just had that in there. You are.
Sorry, I misspoke.
And
I didn't realize the time.
that's all right. I know Eddie has a lot of pictures he wanted to show, and that's why I was asking about the time. He's got
Oh, I
kind of
don't
a
have any
slideshow
pictures.
to show. So.
I don't have any pictures. We have
Oh.
a ton of people that still want to show their birdhouses.
Well, they need to put it in the
okay.
chat.
Put it in the chat, folks. We were
So
looking for your birdhouses.
So it's just as easy as doing this. And you just bring it up, true it up. And then kind of soften that corner. And I ease it up, and then I'll finish doing the hand sanding. And then I'll take a pin vise and just drill a hole in there. If you're not familiar with a pin vise, it's just one of these that has very small drill bits, and you just drill a small hole in there, and I put a screw eye in there for hanging. So just like that. I'm not going to do that right now because we're short on time, but maybe I can do the snowman next month or something. It's up to you guys.
Sure,
Yeah,
we can do that.
absolutely.
Snowman
If
might
you
be
guys are
better in
interested in seeing
time.
that, I can. Yeah, well, if you guys are interested in seeing that, maybe a couple others, I can do that later on next summer or next month if you want.
Yeah, we can do the 21st. How about that?
That'll
Could
work.
you-
I'll be here. I'm not.
All right,
Scott, could
cool.
you just hold
I'm
up the
not going
snowman
anywhere.
and show it what it look like?
Oh,
I'll
sure.
confirm-
This
I'll
one
confirm
isn't my
with you,
best
Scott.
one, but this was just a demo one I did a while back, but this
That's
is
cool. I
the
like
snowman.
that. I like the tilted
This is a
hat.
real long one. This,
I like it. I
yeah,
like
this is a real long one.
that. It looks great.
Yeah, it's a walnut hat and poplar body. So
Beautiful.
yeah, I like making these too. So I'll show you guys next month how to make one of these guys.
That'll work, Scott. I'll get with you tomorrow, next day,
All right.
okay? Next day.
All right, sounds
Tomorrow's
good.
Thanksgiving. There can
Hope
be
you
a
guys
day off
enjoyed the
from me.
demo.
We did. Released I
Yeah,
did.
I'm
Thank
ex-
you,
Very
Scott.
good.
Come on,
Demo. Thank you.
job.
Yeah,
The
great
piece
job,
was
Scott.
absolutely
Thanks, Scott.
beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you
Very
for
good.
showing
you're
that.
quite